the 80s and Fender were in decline with its CBS guitars. Although there were some improvements on the 70s, Fender's reputation was pretty much in tatters. CBS decided to sell Fender, and ideas such as moving Fender out of the USA or reducing Fender to a single import and production company, therefore cutting the number of employees to as low as a handful, caused real concern and frustrations for all those that had worked for Fender for so many years. So to cut a long story short, about 10 employees, supported by some investors and a musician thought to be Tommy Tedesco, bought the company for $12.6 million on the 12th of March 1985. They then renamed the company to Fender Musical Instruments Corporation, which it's still known as today. I was 16 in 1987 and I'd been messing around with my brother's Fender Squier for a while and often dreamed of a real Stratocaster. Although at the time real was Japanese Stratocasters, as you just didn't see USA Strats in the shops. But by the time I turned 18, I had obtained my driver's license, found employment and discovered credit. It was time for a real Stratocaster. I remember looking in all the shops and seeing for the first time the American Standard, and I played a few and was in love. I still remember how good they felt and how good they sounded, but still the price was too high, which was odd because on release these American Standards were around £300 to £400, which was more or less the price of a Japanese Stratocaster. Except because of these new American Standards, retailers were forced pretty much to cut the price of the Japanese guitars or risk being stuck with them. So at the time, I reluctantly bought with my pocket rather than my heart, and plumbed for a Japanese candy red Stratocaster. Now don't get me wrong, these Japanese Stratocasters were extremely well made and sounding, but I always did hanker after a USA model. I thought at the time it was just for the prestige, but a few weeks ago this 1988 Fender American Standard Stratocaster appeared locally on Marketplace, and I managed to do a deal, a trade with the seller, and it was instantly clear just why I always wanted one of these. So let's have a deeper look at why this model is such a special and much coveted guitar from the Fender range. The moulded Fender case just screams 1980 to me and takes me right back, and I remembered that with the USA Stratocasters you got this case free, whereas the Japanese ones didn't come with a case at all. It's certainly not a mint case by any means, but it's definitely done its job over the years, as although there are scratches, dents and an actual hole in this guitar case, inside the guitar is in superb condition. When we open the case, it's literally like it's been frozen in time, and it has all its case candy, from the strap, hang tags, booklet and even the original tremolo spring. What a fantastic library of contents. Although a little tatty, it's a real treat to see. The guitar itself looks stunning, so let's take a closer look. The American Standard Stratocaster soon became the new Fender that was born from the takeover of the old CBS Fender, and Bill Schultz along with his team designed this guitar not as a premium model or to cut costs, but to deliver a more competitive guitar based on Leo Fender's original design, tweaked slightly, but without altering its fundamental structure. There's so much to read about this era on the internet, but I just wanted to concentrate on the actual guitar, so I'll leave a link in the description to the history, as it does make for interesting reading. The new American Standard Stratocaster was named to emphasise that this guitar was made in the USA and not anywhere else, and was officially unveiled in NAMM in January 1987. It now featured a small headstock, a Biflex truss rod, a 4-bolt neck plate, which also incorporated a micro tilt adjustment system. Made in USA was printed proudly just underneath the name Stratocaster and just beside the cream coloured modern Fender logo. The serial numbers for these guitars is actually quite a confusing story, and again there is information on the internet, but for this late 80s issue the serial number 8 denotes that the guitar was made in 1988 and is prefixed with the letter E. Now when I inspected this guitar there was some fret wear, and on deeper inspection I could see that it was only light pitting and only up to the 7th fret. So the previous owner must have been a beginner and concentrated mostly on simple cowboy chords and bar chords. I took this to my luthier, and although I do some guitar repairs, I would never attempt to replace frets on any guitar. But as soon as he saw this, he advised me just to recrown the frets, as they were quite flattened, which is very common on a guitar of this age. He seemed to think that a recrowning would eliminate any problems these frets had, so that's exactly what I did. The maple neck on this model has a bone nut which measures 42.5mm and has a 9.5 radius rosewood fretboard which now boasted 22 medium jumbo frets. It has a nice comfortable thin C-shaped neck which measures 43mm at the 1st fret and 51.5mm at the 12th. I was really pleased with how this recrowning came out, and as you can see the fret dents are all mostly gone, and what is left won't hinder the playability at all. The body on this early model is Alder, and instead of each pickup having its own route, this and all early models had a much larger route, commonly known as the swimming pool route. This will house any combination of pickups, should you wish to mod this guitar. Moving on to electronics, I'm so pleased that on inspection they are totally original, as these models were often replaced to house Lace Center or Seymour Duncan pickups that became a popular mod during the 90s. These original pickups have flat poles, and although they didn't have a specific name at first, they soon became known as simply American Standard pickups. These are now regarded among one of the best sounding Stratocaster pickups, and I agree that you'd be hard pushed to find any pickups that sound so much like a Stratocaster. In fact, John Page, the Fender bullet designer, master builder, and Fender custom shop founder, now makes his own flat pole pickups because he prefers them, and I think as a master builder, he would know. The bridge pickup measures 591, the middle pickup 598, and the neck pickup measures 596. The second in-between position is 307, and the fourth 308. The middle pickup was reverse wound and reverse polarity, which made it hum cancelling in the second and fourth in-between positions. The first tone control, the middle knob, was just a normal tone control that adjusted the neck pickup, but the second tone control, the bottom knob, was a TBX tone control system for the bridge and middle pickups. The catalogue boasts that the TBX tone control adjusts the dampening of the pickup's internal resonance to deliver tones you've never heard before. It's certainly true, as this guitar can really deliver some lovely lush mellow tones and some nice biting tones, all just by the adjustment of this installed TBX knob, and you can have hours of fun just getting lost with this ingenious system. Here's a few simple samples for you to have a listen to, but trust me, these samples are just the tip of the iceberg of what this guitar is actually capable of. TBX is often confused with the system most famously used by Eric Clapton, which is an active system powered by a battery to boost the signal, which is in another world altogether. This TBX was a passive system and consisted of two stacked potentiometers that acts as a normal tone control up to halfway, which is number 5 on the knob. But from 5 to 10, this allows you to cut both treble and bass frequencies, unlike a typical tone pot which only allows the player to cut treble. Again, there is a lot more information out there on the internet about this system. Besides the TBX control and those lush sounding pickups, perhaps the most significant innovation was the new bridge. The original synchronized tremolo was one of Leo Fender's iconic features that had been redesigned during the CBS era to cut costs, resulting in a decline due to using inferior die-cast metal. The new American standard Stratocaster bridge wasn't made using the same CBS era method of pouring metal into molds. Instead, Fender used what they called a powdered metal process, in which metal powder was pressed under extremely high pressure. The tremolo block was angled for an extended range of motion and made of low carbon steel produced through this method, and the earlier tremolo blocks were nickel coated. The saddles were filled and composed of a single block, which were realised through the same powdered metal process, and featured a thin slot for the string to slide through. These saddles incorporated offset intonation screws and were designed to allow for greater intonation range without the screw interfering with the string, as by offsetting the screw it can be turned further in or out without ever connecting with the string. On closer inspection of this guitar, I noticed one intonation screw on the bottom E saddle had been rounded off, so I had to remove this with a pair of pliers and replace with a new screw, which was a simple fix. The new bridge was fixed to the body using the 2-point synchronized tremolo instead of the usual 6 screws, and this was not only simple and cost effective, but it also produced a great sound. So there you have it, the 1988 Fender American Standard Stratocaster, and in such great condition and in all its original glory, which can be described as a time capsule find, and certainly a guitar I welcome into my personal collection. I've recorded a little piece of music to show you just how versatile this guitar is, and also as a tribute to a great guitarist that sadly passed away recently. But before you hear this, as I always ask, if you enjoy the content I create, please take the time to like and subscribe. It literally costs you nothing but a few minutes of time, but helps me to continue making these free, independent videos and reviews, and also helps spread these videos to a wider audience that may well be in need of some free help and advice. I would also like to thank Lee Hardy, who is my Fender guru, and he's always on hand to help with advice and knowledge. Keep your eyes peeled for the soon-to-come Fender USA bullet review, which he has also helped me with. So until the next time, as always, thanks for watching. Well, it's murder, it's so unnecessary. Well, it's just so weird when someone disappears and no one knows just why it was, and if it's so, it's just because of the horror. No other way to name it, and if you saw her, you'd do everything you could to change it. Round and round and round I go. The more I see, the less I know for an answer. It's so unsophisticated. She was a learner dancer, so very uncoordinated. I saw her laid by the tube alone, but never knew she'd lost her home. Such a charming place that it is to come, to live on the outside in the sun. I wonder where she'll go today. I hope it's somewhere less grey, 'cause it has to be said, Everywhere she left behind did nothing much to help her find an answer. 'Cause there must be another way for a chancer to live to see another day. She looked to see just who it was, but I drove past and she was lost in this charming place where some have come to live on the outside in the sun.